The black ocean of space stretched endless and cold. Stars flickered like tiny fires, and 1,000 ships of the Empire glided through the void. Their hulls sharp and bright. They were proud. They were countless. They had conquered worlds for centuries. At the center of this fleet sat the Imperial flagship, a massive beast of metal and light, its bridge filled with alien officers, their eyes glowing under the control panels. They had been told the humans were weak, primitive, and unworthy of notice. But tonight, something strange waited in the dark. A lone warship drifted in the shadows, black as night, silent as death. No banners, no signals, no escort. Just one ship against the Empire. The aliens laughed. At first, their voices echoing inside the bridge. "Is that it?" One officer said, pointing at the strange vessel. "Humans send a single toy to face us?" Another mocked. They did not know what they were looking at. The commander leaned forward, his scaled hands tight on the edge of the console. "Scan it," he ordered. His voice carried authority, but beneath it was curiosity. And something else, fear, though he did not admit it. The scanners hummed. Lines of light ran across the mysterious human ship. Numbers rolled on alien screens. Power levels, alloys, engine signatures. The laughter stopped, replaced by silence. Every officer stared at the readings. This cannot be," whispered the science officer. "The armor. It is not on any record. The density. It should collapse under its own weight, but it holds. The weapons," another stammered. "These turrets. One shot could level a moon," the commander hissed. "Impossible. Humans cannot build such things." Yet the readings did not lie. The ship floated calmly, as if mocking them. No signals, no movements, no sound, like a predator waiting in tall grass. One junior officer swallowed hard, his voice trembling. "Sir, should we fire first?" The commander turned sharply, his eyes burning. "To waste shots on a husk?" "No, we will break it open after we finish the scan." But his voice was less sure now. The ship's design was wrong. It was smooth yet sharp, ancient yet new. The engines glowed faintly, blue light pulsing like a heartbeat. The bridge fell into an uneasy quiet. Then something happened. The alien scanners blinked red. Alarms rang. "It's not passive," the science officer cried. It's scanning us." A wave of energy washed across the fleet, invisible yet felt by every ship. Screens flickered, codes scrambled, systems glitched. For a moment, the mighty Empire fleet felt small. Exposed, like prey under the gaze of a hunter, the commander slammed his clawed hand on the console. "Raise shields! Prepare weapons!" He barked, but even as the fleet moved, the human ship did not. It just hung there, silent, watching, as if it already knew the outcome. Rumors spread quickly among the soldiers, whispers of Deathworlders, the humans, who lived on the most violent planet. Legends they had mocked in the academy. Now the legends stared them in the face, floating in the black sky. A cold fear gripped every heart. The silence of that warship was heavier than 1,000 guns, and when one young officer dared to speak, his voice cracked. "Sir, what if this is only one of many?" The commander did not answer. He looked at the screens again, at the impossible readings, at the ship that should not exist, and for the first time in years, he felt a truth he could not push away. They were not the hunters tonight. They were the prey. The ship did not fire, it did not move, it simply waited, and that was more terrifying than any weapon. Somewhere in the endless dark, a human commander stood calm inside that silent vessel, watching the Empire fleet panic, waiting for the moment to remind the galaxy Earth had arrived. The Empire fleet hung frozen in space, thousands of eyes fixed on the single human warship. It had not moved, not fired, not spoken, yet its silence was louder than thunder. Inside the flagship, the commander's patience cracked. "Run the deep scan again," he ordered sharply. His officers obeyed, their long fingers sliding across glowing panels. Lines of alien code filled the screens, beams of invisible energy swept over the strange vessel. At first, the readings seemed wrong. Numbers so high they looked like mistakes. Check the calibration. One officer muttered, but his hands shook. They checked again and again. The results did not change. The human warship's armor was beyond any alloy known to the Empire. Not forged, not grown, not assembled by machine. It looked alive, like a shell formed under pressure of stars. The hull absorbed every scan, bending the energy away like it was nothing. The commander narrowed his eyes. What about weapons? The room fell silent before the answer came. Sir, the ship carries energy cannons, rail weapons, and something else. Something we cannot name. He paused, his throat dry. One shot from its forward cannon could pierce the core of a planet. Gasps filled the bridge. That much power was not possible, not even for the most ancient Empire fleets. But the numbers glared back at them. Unblinking, another officer spoke, his voice shaking. The shields. They are stronger than the combined shields of our entire fleet. The commander turned, fury flashing in his eyes. Do not speak lies. The officer pushed the data forward. See for yourself, Commander. One ship holds more defense than all of us together. The commander felt his throat tighten. It was impossible. It was madness. Humans had been called weak, their fleet slow, their science simple. Yet here, floating silently, was proof of something else, proof that everything the Empire believed might be wrong. The youngest officer whispered, "What kind of world makes such ships?" No one answered, but they all thought of Earth, the death world, the cursed planet that raised monsters called humans. The scans went deeper, peeling layer after layer. Engines that could fold space, reactors that pulsed like stars. Every discovery turned awe into terror. The aliens had always thought humans were behind, but now they realized the humans were ahead, far ahead. Then the scanners flickered again. Alarms rang, red symbols filled the bridge. The science officer's face went pale. Sir, it's feeding false data back into us. The ship is hacking our scan, the commander snarled. Shut it down. But the damage was done. The human ship had read their entire fleet. Every weapon, every weakness, every secret exposed. Panic rippled through the officers. If the humans knew their defenses, there was no hope. The commander slammed his claw against the table. Calm yourselves. It is one ship against hundreds. But even he felt his words ring hollow. On the lower decks of the flagship, soldiers muttered in fear. Stories spread like fire. Legends of human soldiers who survived radiation, who fought beasts barehanded. And now they whispered, this warship was built by those same creatures. A machine born from a world where survival was war every day. The commander tried to steady himself. He looked again at the human vessel, still calm, still watching. Like a predator waiting for its prey to make the first mistake, sweat beaded on his scaled forehead. Report! He barked. The science officer swallowed hard. Sir, the ship's power core. It is not nuclear, not fusion, not antimatter. Then what is it? The officer's voice was barely a whisper. We do not know. It feels like a piece of a star trapped inside. The commander's stomach twisted. How could humans hold the fire of a star in their hands? How could one ship carry the force of suns? Every answer only brought more fear. Silence settled again on the bridge. Outside, the human ship rotated slowly, its black hull catching faint starlight. It did not rush, it did not threaten, it waited. And the waiting was worse than any battle. Then for the first time, the ship spoke. A single message cut through the void, clear and cold. You have seen enough. The alien officers froze, their hearts pounding. The voice was human, steady, powerful, the voice of someone who already knew they were doomed. The commander tried to speak, but his mouth was dry. No orders came, no courage remained. He stared at the silent ship and realized something that chilled his soul. The scan had not revealed the ship's true power. The scan had revealed only what the humans allowed them to see. And if that was enough to terrify the Empire, what horrors still lay hidden? The bridge shivered with fear. One warship against an empire, and suddenly, it did not feel like a fair fight. The Empire fleet floated like a wall of steel, but inside every ship was fear. The human warship had scanned them, exposed them, humiliated them without firing a single shot. Whispers ran through the lower decks, soldiers gripping their weapons, though they knew weapons meant nothing against such a monster. On the flagship's bridge, the commander stood stiff, his claws curling against the console. His officers avoided his eyes, their screens filled with the same terrifying truth. The humans were stronger. The humans were ready. A young officer broke the silence, his voice sharp with panic. "Commander, we must fire first, before it strikes." Another shouted, "Yes, if we wait, we die without a fight." The words spread through the bridge like sparks in dry wood. The Empire had always attacked first, always crushed their enemies before fear could rise. But this time, fear already ruled them. The commander raised his hand for silence, his chest rose and fell heavy. "If we fire and fail, we invite death. If we wait, perhaps the humans hesitate. Perhaps this ship is bluffing." But even as he spoke, he did not believe his own words. The readings were too real. The silence of the warship too sharp. The ship was not bluffing. It was waiting. Suddenly, alarms rang across the flagship. "Energy spike detected." The science officer cried. The bridge froze, every eye snapping to the view screen. The human ship glowed faintly, its engines pulsing brighter, its cannons adjusting, smooth and silent. The Empire fleet tensed, every gun turned toward the lone vessel, every shield raised. The commander shouted, "Hold fire! Wait for my order." But his soldiers shook with terror. Some captains across the fleet ignored him. On smaller ships, missiles armed, railguns heated, targeting systems locked, their fear demanded action. The first missile streaked into the void, leaving a trail of fire behind. Others followed. A storm of Empire weapons roaring across space. Thousands of eyes waited, breath held, and the human warship did not move. Then in silence, a shimmer of blue light rippled across its hull. The Empire missile struck the barrier, not one reached the surface. The blast turned to sparks, swallowed by the shield as if the attacks never existed. Gasps filled the flagship bridge. It absorbed everything. An officer cried. Another slammed his fist on the console. Not even a scratch, not even heat signatures. The human warship tilted slightly, its weapons shifted, but still it did not fire. Instead, a beam of light stretched from its hull. Not a weapon, another scan, this time stronger, colder, like a blade cutting straight through the Empire ships. The commander's throat tightened. It knows our every move. It is waiting for us to waste our strength, and then it will strike. Across the fleet, soldiers whispered about the Deathworlders, the humans who tamed storms, who drank poison and called it water. And if their ships were born from such a world, then no Empire technology could match them. The commander slammed his hand down again. "All ships, prepare counterattack. If we die fighting." But his words rang hollow because everyone saw the truth. The humans had not attacked. They did not need to. The science officer's screen flickered again. "Commander, the human ship's core is building power. It will fire soon." Commander's chest went cold. Where will it strike? The answer made the blood drain from every face. Not at us. It aims beyond us. A second later, the warship released a single shot. A beam of light cut across the stars, faster than thought. It struck a distant asteroid the size of a mountain. The rock exploded into dust. A wave of fire expanding across space. The shockwave rattled even the Empire ships, though the target had been far away. Silence followed, heavier than before. The human warship had chosen not to kill them. It had chosen to warn them. The commander gripped the console, his scaled skin pale. That was only one cannon, one shot, and it destroyed a mountain like sand. Every officer stared. No one laughed now. Some wanted to run, others to beg for surrender, but all of them understood. The humans had made their first move, and it was not an attack, it was a message. A cold voice came across the fleet's comms, human words translated into every tongue. You fired first, we fired last, do not test us again. The commander's knees weakened, the officers trembled, and in the hearts of the proud empire, a truth grew heavy. They were not the hunters anymore, they were trapped prey, and the predator had just bared its teeth. The silence after the human's warning shot was more terrifying than the blast itself. The Empire fleet floated still, thousands of soldiers gripping their stations, their eyes wide with fear. The asteroid's dust still burned in the distance, glowing like the ashes of a dead world. Inside the flagship, no one spoke for long minutes. Even the commander, proud and fierce, could not hide the tremor in his claws. He looked at the human warship on the screen, unmoved, untouched, calm as death. The Empire had always ruled through fear, but now fear had turned against them, on smaller ships. The panic grew faster. Soldiers whispered that the legends of Deathworlders were true. Stories told in barracks of humans who wrestled beasts, who lived on poison air, who walked through fire. Now no one laughed at those tales, because here, in front of them, floated proof. Mutiny spread like a shadow. One captain of a cruiser shouted over his comm, "I will not throw my crew into certain death. We retreat." His ship turned slowly away from formation. Others followed, engines flaring as they sought escape. The commander roared into the fleet channel, "Hold your positions. Cowards will be executed." But even his voice sounded hollow. Every captain who remained asked the same question in silence. What if execution was better than facing that warship? On the flagship's lower decks, soldiers sat with their heads in their hands. Some prayed to their gods, others wrote quick messages to families, thinking the end was near. They had fought countless enemies, crushed countless worlds, but none had ever made them feel so helpless. A young soldier whispered to his comrade, "We should leave, all of us, before it fires again." His comrade only shook his head. "Where will we go? If one ship can follow us, we cannot hide anywhere." The science officer on the bridge kept staring at his screen, his voice low and broken. "Commander, it is worse than we thought." The commander snapped. "What do you mean worse?" The officer turned his screen for all to see. "Sir, the shot they fired, it was not even at full power. The weapon was only at 5%. Gasps filled the bridge. 5% had turned a mountain into dust. What would full power do? No one dared to imagine. Rumors turned into terror, whispers into screams. Some soldiers accused their leaders of lying. "You told us humans were weak. You told us their ships were nothing." But the truth was clear before their eyes. The Empire had underestimated a predator, and now the predator was here. The commander tried to regain control. "Silence, we are still the Empire. We are still 1,000 ships." But his words fell into emptiness because deep down, every officer knew 1,000 ships meant nothing if one warship could erase them all. Another officer muttered bitterly, "What if this is only a scout? What if there are more waiting, hidden in the dark?" That thought chilled the room even further. If this was only one, what chance did the Empire have? The human ship still did not fire again. Its silence was its greatest weapon. It let fear spread. Let panic eat the Empire alive from the inside. Every second that passed, the aliens broke a little more. On one battleship, a soldier dropped his weapon and shouted, "I will not fight them. They are gods, not mortals." Others joined, throwing weapons aside. Entire units refused orders. The mighty Empire fleet was collapsing before the first true battle had even begun. The commander's second-in-command leaned closer and whispered, "Sir, if we retreat now, we may save what is left of the fleet." But the commander's pride burned in his chest. "Retreat? And let the galaxy see us crawl?" Never. Yet even as he spoke, he knew the galaxy would soon know. They would know the Empire had faced humans and had trembled. Suddenly, the comm crackled. The human voice returned, calm and sharp. "You feel fear because you know the truth. You cannot win. Leave now and live. Stay and be ashes. The bridge froze. The human did not shout, did not boast. The voice was simple, final, like judgment, and in that moment, every officer realized something that made their blood run cold. The humans did not see this as war. They saw it as mercy. They were giving the Empire a chance to flee before destruction. And mercy from predators was worse than death. Across the fleet, decisions shattered like glass. Some captains turned and fled, their engines blazing into the dark. Others powered down weapons, lowering shields in surrender. A few still held firm, pride blinding their fear. But the cracks had spread too deep. The Empire was no longer one fleet. It was a broken mirror, splitting apart under the weight of human silence. The commander clenched his fists, rage and despair. Burning together, fear had spread, and it could not be stopped. The Empire fleet was broken inside. Ships fled into the dark. Others froze in fear, and some lowered their weapons in silent surrender. But the human warship remained still, calm as if it had already decided everything, on the flagship's bridge. The commander stood tall, though his legs trembled beneath him. His eyes burned with rage and humiliation. He was a warrior of the Empire, trained never to bow, never to yield. Yet now he stared at a ship that made him feel smaller than dust. Officers whispered among themselves, "Why has it not destroyed us already?" Perhaps it is waiting for more of them to arrive. Or perhaps it is playing with us. Each word was poison, sinking deeper into the crew's minds. The science officer looked at his screen again. His voice cracked as he spoke. "Commander, the energy inside the human ship is rising again." Every head snapped toward the display. The ship's core pulsed brighter, cannons shifting into position. The air on the bridge grew heavy. Every officer felt the weight of death pressing down. The commander barked, "All ships, prepare for incoming fire." His words echoed through the fleet, but they did not carry courage. They carried despair. The human warship moved at last, not rushing, not striking, but slow and deliberate. Its cannons turned toward the void, the same way a predator bears its fangs before the kill. Target locked. The tactical officer shouted, but then his face twisted in confusion. "Wait. Sir, it's not aiming at us." The commander frowned. "Then where?" The answer made his chest tighten. "It aims at the moon behind us." A cold silence filled the room. The humans were not just going to fire. They were going to show them. The warship's front cannon glowed, light building like a second sun. The Empire fleet shook with fear. Some captains screamed orders to retreat. Others begged their gods. But no one could look away. Not when death itself was about to speak. The beam fired. It was silent, blinding, unstoppable. It crossed the stars in a breath, slamming into the gray moon that hung in the distance. For a second, the moon stood whole. Then it cracked. Then it shattered. A world of rock, 1 billion years old, reduced to fire and dust and less. Then a heartbeat. The explosion lit the dark. Chunks of stone flew outward, waves of burning light spreading far and wide. The shockwave rattled the Empire fleet. Ships tilting, alarms screaming. On the flagship, soldiers fell to the floor, their hearts pounding. Every eye stared at the burning remains of a moon that no longer existed. One officer whispered, his voice broken, "That was not war. That was godlike." The commander's claws dug into the console. He could not deny what he saw. One shot, one cannon, one ship, and an entire moon had died. The humans had not destroyed them. They had destroyed something greater, to send a message. The human voice returned across the comms, cold, steady, final. This was a warning. Do not test us again. The words spread across every ship, translated into every language, every ear. There was no shouting, no roar of victory, only silence, because the humans had shown power so far beyond understanding that words were useless. On the smaller ships, soldiers dropped to their knees. Some prayed, some wept. Others begged their captains to retreat before the warship turned its cannon back on them. Even the bravest now trembled. Because if this was only a warning, then what would a true attack look like? The commander forced himself to speak, though his throat burned. They did not aim at us. They could have ended us, but they chose not to. This is not just strength. This is control. The science officer nodded slowly, fear in his eyes. Sir, they are showing us that our lives depend only on their will. They could crush us or spare us, and both choices are theirs alone. The commander's heart filled with something he had not felt since his youth. Hopelessness, it wrapped around his chest like chains, because he knew now the Empire's pride, its fleets, its glory. All of it meant nothing. In front of one human warship, they were powerless. Across the fleet, the whispers turned into cries. Retreat! Flee while we still can. Do not make them angry again. Some ships pulled away faster, their engines burning bright. Others shut down weapons completely, lights dimming in surrender. A few still held in formation. Too stubborn, too proud. But even their captains knew in their hearts, if the humans fired again, none would survive. The commander closed his eyes for a long moment. When he opened them, he looked at the warship not as an enemy, but as a shadow over the entire galaxy. A shadow that could not be defeated, only obeyed. The warning shot had done more than shatter a moon. It had shattered the spirit of the Empire. The moon's shattered remains drifted through the black sky. Glowing like burning embers, the Empire fleet stared in silence. Their pride reduced to fear. Their courage turned into ash. One warning shot had broken them more than 1,000 battles ever could. On the flagship's bridge, the commander stood. Frozen, he tried to steady his voice, but it shook like a dying flame. All ships, regroup. Hold your lines, he ordered, but no one moved, no one listened. Across the fleet, chaos grew. Some captains shouted commands, but their crews refused to obey. Others fled without orders, engines blazing into the void. The Empire had always ruled through discipline and control. Now that discipline was gone, torn apart by fear. Soldiers whispered in dark corners. They could erase us at any moment. They spared us only because they wanted to. They are not enemies. They are executioners. And once such whispers began, they could not be stopped. Mutiny spread fast on one destroyer. The crew locked their captain in his chamber when he ordered them to fight. On another, soldiers dropped their weapons and sat trembling on the floor, refusing to move. The mighty Empire fleet was collapsing without a single human shot aimed at them. The science officer turned pale as he read his screen. Commander, the warship's core. It is not cooling, it is building energy again. Gasps echoed across the bridge. But the human ship did not fire, it only pulsed with power. It only watched. The commander slammed his claws against the console, sparks flying. Cowards! We are the Empire. Stand and fight. But even he felt the hollowness of his words, because deep down, he knew the truth. One warship had already undone them. The Empire's second in command leaned closer, his voice quiet. Sir, the fleet is finished. Even if we hold, even if we fight, morale is gone. They no longer believe we can win. The commander turned his burning eyes on him. You dare speak of surrender? The second in command did not answer. He only looked back at the human ship. And his silence was enough. On the smaller vessels, despair grew like fire. One captain begged overcomes. Human vessel, we yield. Spare us. Another shouted, do not fire, we retreat. Their voices overlapped in chaos. The fleet channel was no longer a chain of command. It was a chorus of fear. The humans had not even needed to strike again. The Empire was striking itself, tearing apart from the inside. The commander's hands shook as he stared at the screen. He thought of the Emperor far away, the court, the leaders, all waiting for news of victory. How could he tell them the truth? How could he say one human ship had broken the greatest fleet in the galaxy? On the flagship's lower decks, soldiers refused to board fighters. Mechanics abandoned stations. Prayers filled the halls. The Empire had never lost so completely without a fight. This was not defeat. This was collapse. The science officer whispered. "Again, sir." "I think this war is already over," the commander roared. "Do not speak that word." But even as he shouted, he saw the faces of his crew. They had already accepted it. The war was lost before it had begun. Outside, the human warship finally shifted. Its hull gleamed in the starlight. Weapons still aimed but silent. To the aliens, the movement felt like a predator circling its prey. Every small tilt of its cannons made soldiers flinch. Every faint hum of its engines made captains scream for retreat. Then, without warning, the human voice returned. Cold, steady, undeniable. "We have shown mercy once. You will not be given it twice." The words spread like fire through every ship. Mercy. The humans had called this mercy. Destroying a moon, breaking a fleet, shattering the pride of an empire. All mercy. The commander's chest ached with rage. But even his pride could not stop the collapse. His fleet was gone. His power was gone, and the humans knew it. One by one, Empire ships jumped into hyperspace. Fleeing into the dark, some vanished without a word. Others screamed cries of surrender before leaving. The fleet that once stretched across the stars was now fragments scattered like dust on the bridge. The second in command finally spoke. "Sir, we cannot hold them. We should retreat. We must live, if only to warn the Empire what humanity truly is." The commander's eyes burned with hate. But when he looked again at the human warship, he felt the weight of truth no words could deny. What had happened? The collapse was complete. The Empire had fallen before a single battle, and humanity had not even tried. The human warship floated silent in the endless dark. Its black hull glowed faintly, reflecting the shattered remains of the moon it had destroyed. Around it, the once proud Empire fleet was no more. Scattered ships fled into hyperspace. Others drifted powerless, their weapons shut down, their crews broken, on the flagship's bridge. The commander stood in silence. His hands trembled, though he tried to hide it. He had led countless battles, crushed rebellions, burned worlds, but never had he seen his empire collapse without a fight, and never had he felt so small. The human ship turned slowly. Its weapons no longer glowed, but its presence was heavier than mountains. Every alien officer knew the humans could erase them with a thought. Yet still it waited, still it watched. The second in command whispered, "Why are they not finishing us? Why do they spare us?" The science officer answered softly, "Because they want us to carry the message." The commander's jaw clenched. "What message?" The officer swallowed hard. "That we are already finished." Then the human voice came again, clear, cold, final. "You now understand only a glimpse of our strength. Know this. The ship you faced is not the greatest of Earth. It is not the first, and it will not be the last. This is only one." The words crashed through the fleet like thunder. One ship had broken them, and now they learned it was only a single vessel among many. The galaxy had feared the Empire's fleets of thousands. But what would they do when faced with hundreds of human warships like this one? The commander's chest tightened, his claws digging into the console. One ship was enough to unmake his fleet. If more existed, the Empire was doomed. Every world, every colony, every stronghold would fall. Not in centuries, not in years, but in days. On smaller ships, soldiers wept openly. Some begged their captains to flee. Others prayed to gods long forgotten. The pride of the Empire was gone, and in its place was only terror. The human voice continued. "You believed Earth was weak. You believed our people were nothing. You were wrong. We are Deathworlders. We are forged by storms, by fire, by endless war on our own world. And now we bring that strength to the stars." The aliens listened, hearts pounding. The stories they had laughed at, the legends they had dismissed. Now they knew those were not legends. They were warnings. The commander's second in command turned pale. "If this message spreads, the entire galaxy will change. No one will ever see humans the same again." The commander nodded slowly, his pride broken at last. Yes. They will not see us as rulers anymore. They will see us as prey. The human warship moved once more. Its engines flared bright, pulling it away from the ruined battlefield. No pursuit followed, no order to stop it. The Empire fleet no longer had the will. All they could do was watch. The final words of the humans echoed into the silence. Tell your Empire, tell your Emperor, Earth does not seek war, but if war comes, remember the fate of your fleet and know what you saw tonight was mercy. Then the warship vanished into hyperspace, gone as suddenly as it had appeared, leaving only silence, broken ships, and shattered spirits behind. The commander sank into his chair, his claws loose, his eyes empty. He knew his duty was to report. He would return to the Emperor. He would tell the court what he had seen. And when he did, the Empire would tremble, because the revelation was clear. The humans were not a rising power. They were already here, already prepared, and the galaxy was too late to stop them. In the ruins of that battlefield, one truth became carved into history. The Empire was not the center of power anymore. The humans were, and every star, every world, every race would soon realize it. They had scanned Earth's warship, they had seen its power, and they had instantly realized the truth. They were doomed.